Welcome back to my YouTube channel. Today we are beginning one of the deepest, longest, and most cinematic explorations I have ever created on this channel as we journey into the Washington quarter dollar, a coin that has lived through nearly a full century of American history and has absorbed within its small circular frame the stories of wars, presidents, economic crises, artistic revolutions, technological advancements, minting breakthroughs, public controversies, record-breaking auctions, collector mysteries, and a symbolism that has grown stronger with every passing decade, because the Washington quarter is not merely a coin, it is a cultural monument that millions of Americans have carried in their pockets without ever realizing how much history is pressed into that tiny piece of metal. And as we begin this immersive cinematic journey, you must imagine yourself stepping back in time to the late 1920s when the United States was preparing to celebrate the 200th birthday of George Washington, and during that time the country was searching for a way to honor the first president with dignity, strength, and national pride. And although a commemorative medal was originally proposed, the idea quickly evolved into something much more powerful, placing Washington's portrait permanently onto a circulating coin, one that every American would use daily, one that would spread his legacy through everyday transactions, one that would carry his image into lunch counters, grocery stores, banks, farms, factories, train stations, and big cities from coast to coast. And the denomination chosen for this national tribute was the quarter dollar, which at that time was represented by the Standing Liberty Quarter, a beautifully designed coin by Herman McNeil, but one that suffered from striking difficulties, design controversies, and production inconsistencies. And this opened the door to one of the most important coin redesign competitions in U.S. history, bringing forth some of the most talented sculptors and medalists of the era, including the exceptional artist Laura Garden Fraser, whose exquisite portrait of Washington captured not only his strength but also his calm leadership and noble presence, and yet in one of the most debated decisions ever made in the world of numismatics, Treasury Secretary Andrew Mellon rejected the Commission of Fine Arts recommendation and instead selected John Flanagan portrait, a design that has since become one of the most instantly recognizable and widely distributed portraits in American monetary history. And when the Washington quarter was officially released in 1932, the nation embraced it with enthusiasm, admiring the bold profile of Washington on the obverse and the powerful heraldic eagle on the reverse, symbols that stood for patriotism, unity, and national identity at a time when the country was still struggling through the Great Depression. And as millions of these coins entered circulation, they began forming a connection between the people and their history, because every time someone paid with a Washington quarter, they were unknowingly carrying a miniature reminder of America's founding values and the legacy of its first president. And during the early years from 1932 to 1964, these coins were minted in beautiful 90% silver, giving them a brilliant shine, a satisfying weight, and a distinctive ring when dropped, qualities that modern coins cannot replicate, and collectors today still treasure these silver quarters not only for their silver content but for the sense of nostalgia they carry, because these coins were used during the Great Depression, during World War II when Americans rationed food and supplies, during the post-war boom, during the rise of suburbs and highways, during the early days of television, and during some of the most transformative decades in American culture, making these silver Washington quarters silent witnesses to the evolution of a nation. And everything changed in 1965 when rising silver prices forced the government to remove silver from circulating coinage, replacing the precious metal with a copper, nickel-clad composition that changed the very character of the quarter, marking the end of the silver era in U.S. currency. And while the metal changed, the iconic Washington portrait remained, preserving the familiarity the public had come to rely on. And as decades passed, the Washington quarter would undergo several evolutions, including the introduction of the bicentennial design in 1976, which replaced the eagle with Jack R's colonial drummer in celebration of America's 200th anniversary, a design that instantly captured the hearts of millions and remains one of the most beloved commemorative coins ever created. And then in 1999, the Washington quarter entered its most ambitious transformation with the launch of the 50-state quarters program, a revolutionary concept that turned the quarter into a miniature rotating gallery of American identity, featuring 50 unique reverse designs that represented the history, culture, and heritage of each U.S. state. And this program awakened a massive wave of public interest in coin collecting, inspiring schoolchildren, families, hobbyists, and even people who had never collected anything before to search through their change with excitement, creating one of the largest national collecting movements in modern American history. And after the state quarters came the Territory Series, then the America the Beautiful program, then modern commemoratives, all continuing the legacy of the Washington quarter as both a functional currency and a storytelling medium, a coin that has chronicled American landscapes, national parks, historical events, influential figures, and cultural milestones. And through all of this, the Washington quarter has remained strong, surviving depressions, recessions, wartime metal shortages, political controversies, design debates, technological shifts, and changes in public behavior as society moved slowly from cash to digital payments. And yet despite all these transformations, the Washington quarter still stands as one of the most widely circulated and most beloved coins in the nation, and as we continue diving deeper into its story, exploring rare dates like the 1932D and 1932S, studying high-grade silver issues, examining transitional errors such as the rare 1965 silver strike, exploring double dies, minting, anomalies, high-relief patterns, special strikes, and the thousands of hidden treasures that collectors still find today, you will see why the Washington quarter dollar is considered one of the richest and most fascinating areas of U.S. coin collecting, a series filled with unexpected rarities, historical mysteries, artistic beauty, and a legacy that continues to grow stronger with every generation that carries this iconic piece of American history. Continuing the journey of the Washington quarter dollar, we now dive even deeper into its historical evolution, artistic intentions, minting challenges, and the countless hidden layers of meaning that lie beneath its familiar surface, because long after the coin's introduction in 1932, the Washington quarter continued to develop its own identity in America, becoming not just a tool for everyday transactions but a small national icon that reflected political changes, technological capabilities, and cultural trends across multiple generations. And one of the most remarkable things about this series is how it survived periods that pushed the limits of American coinage production, especially during World War II when the mint was under extreme pressure to produce enough coins for a country facing rationing, military demands, and explosive economic growth tied to wartime industry. And while the quarter did not undergo the same dramatic metal experimentation as the wartime nickel, the pressure of the era forced the mint to refine its processes, upgrade equipment, adjust press pressure, and experiment subtly with die hub modifications that later created collectible varieties recognized today. And as the nation moved into the 1950s, the Washington quarter became a symbol of post-war optimism, seen in the pockets of returning veterans, young families buying their first homes, kids feeding quarters into jukeboxes, diners, soda machines, bowling alleys, movie theaters, and the rapidly expanding American consumer culture that defined the mid-20th century. And during this period, even though the design remained mostly unchanged, the mint introduced small adjustments to the portrait, spacing, feather detail, and lettering that produced distinct variations studied deeply by collectors. And these subtle differences, such as the Type B reverse, the proof hub reverses, and various double dies, created hidden treasures that even experienced coin handlers often overlooked, adding layers of excitement to the series. And by the early 1960s, the Washington quarter was one of the most trusted coins in circulation, so widely used that the mint struggled to keep up with public demand, and this demand became even more intense when rising silver prices caused millions of Americans to begin hoarding silver coins, fearing that their metal value would exceed face value, a fear that eventually came true and pushed the U.S. government to take emergency action, leading to the Coinage Act of 1965, which permanently ended the use of silver in circulating quarters, marking one of the biggest turning points in the history of American currency. And although the public was initially resistant to the new clad coins, believing they looked too dull or lightweight compared to the beautiful silver issues, the Washington quarter design helped maintain public trust, because even though the metal changed, Washington's profile remained familiar, reminding Americans that the coin still represented national heritage and consistency. And as the modern era approached, the coin underwent yet another transformation, not through metal composition but through the introduction of proof sets, special mint sets, and eventually collector-focused special issues such as the silver proof quarters that reintroduced the beauty of silver in non-circulating form, giving collectors a chance to enjoy the classic appearance while maintaining the affordability and practicality of clad circulation strikes. And what makes this time so fascinating is that the Washington quarter became one of the few coins that existed simultaneously across multiple formats: clad circulation, clad proof, silver proof, special mint set strikes, special anniversary strikes, each with its own personality and collector appeal, showing how the mint used the quarter as a flexible artistic and economic tool. And by the time the 50-state quarters program was announced in the late 1990s, the Washington quarter's identity was ready for renewal, and this program changed everything, because suddenly the reverse design became a dynamic canvas that represented every U.S. state, turning the quarter into a cultural phenomenon that sparked nationwide treasure hunts, educational programs, school collections, and one of the greatest booms in casual coin collecting the United States had ever seen. And people of all ages, kids, adults, families, grandparents, began checking their pockets every day, searching for new designs, learning about state history, and filling special maps and books that displayed all 50 designs. And this phenomenon breathed new life into the world of numismatics, turning a simple quarter into a symbol of national connection, unity, diversity, and local pride. And after the State Quarters program finished, the Washington Quarter continued its legacy through the DC and Territory series. Then transitioned into the America the Beautiful series, which honored national parks, producing some of the most visually stunning reverse designs in the entire history of U.S. coinage, and each of these modern reverses pushed the boundaries of minting technology, using enhanced details, deeper relief, complex textures, and precise metal flow characteristics that earlier mints could only dream of, proving how far the technology had evolved since Flanagan's original 1932 design. And yet, despite all these transformations, the obverse portrait of Washington kept its timeless presence, anchoring the coin across the decades, connecting 1932 to 1965 to 1976 to 1999 to 2020 and beyond. And throughout this extraordinary evolution, collectors discovered thousands of varieties, errors, double dies, transitional strikes, wrong-planchet errors, broad strikes, off-centers, clipped planchets, die breaks, cold strikes, high-relief anomalies, experimental surfaces, special metal tests, and unique pattern pieces that represent some of the greatest rarities of the entire quarter series. And it is this combination of everyday familiarity and hidden complexity that makes the Washington quarter dollar one of the deepest, richest, and most rewarding coins to study, because no matter how many you've seen, no matter how long you've been collecting, there is always another rare date, another variety, another unexpected treasure hiding in plain sight, waiting to be discovered. And that is exactly why this coin has captured the imagination of collectors for nearly a century and continues to do so today. As we move into the deeper layers of the Washington quarter dollar's vast universe, Part 2A now pulls you into the world of rarities, errors, minting mysteries, and the extraordinary pieces that have stunned collectors with values far beyond what anyone expected from a simple circulating coin, because the Washington quarter series contains some of the most dramatic, shocking, and historically significant key dates in American numismatics, beginning with the legendary 1932 D and 1932 S quarters. The first-year rarities that immediately set the tone for the entire series, minted in extremely low numbers because the country was still suffering through the Great Depression, and coin production was drastically reduced nationwide, making these two mint marks the cornerstones of the entire Washington quarter collection. And the reason these coins became so valuable is not only because of low mintages, but because most of these early silver quarters entered circulation instantly and stayed there, used heavily in everyday transactions when money was scarce, meaning high-grade survivors are unbelievably rare today, and once you add the natural wear of nearly a century, the few remaining well-preserved examples become treasures that collectors fight fiercely to own. And yet the rarity journey only begins there, because the Washington quarter series holds some of the most fascinating transitional errors ever discovered, especially surrounding the dramatic metal change of 1965 when the United States shifted from silver to clad composition, and during this chaotic transition a small number of 1,965 quarters were accidentally struck on leftover 90% silver planchets, creating one of the greatest modern rarities in American coinage, a coin that looks ordinary to the casual eye but reveals its true identity through weight, sound, and metal analysis. And these silver 1965 quarters have reached astonishing values because they represent a moment of industrial confusion, a time when the mint was pushing machines at maximum speed to meet national demand while simultaneously switching materials, creating the perfect environment for one of the most exciting transitional errors of all time. And this is only one chapter, because the Washington quarter series is overflowing with double dies, repunched mint marks, hub varieties, and major die errors such as the dramatic 1943 S double die obverse, known for its heavily doubled motto and letters, or the various 1934 double dies that reveal themselves through strong doubling in the motto "In God We Trust," each of these pieces bearing the fingerprints of the minting process from an era when dies were manually created and hubbing inconsistencies could easily escape the quality control systems of the time, allowing incredible varieties to enter circulation and hide unnoticed for decades before collectors uncovered them. And as we travel further into this vast landscape of hidden treasure, we must also highlight the 1941 S large S and small s mintmark varieties, the 1942 Type B reverse proof hub circulation strike anomalies, and one of the most beloved varieties in all Washington quarters, the Type B reverse from the 1950s and early 1960s, where proof dies were mistakenly used on circulation coinage, resulting in sharply detailed feathers, refined lines, and a distinctively different artistic style that collectors seek passionately today. And this Type B reverse phenomenon tells a deeper story of how the mint operated during those decades, because the reuse of dies across striking formats reflects how the mint often had to adapt quickly under pressure, improvising and reassigning tools to meet production deadlines, inadvertently creating some of the most collectible varieties in the series. And beyond these intentional or unintentional design anomalies lies a universe of pure error coins, broad strikes, off-center strikes, double strikes, triple strikes, wrong-planchet strikes, clipped planchets, missing clad layers, retained die breaks, cuds, die caps, misaligned dies, and dramatic late-stage die breaks that look like lightning scars cutting across the coin's surface, each one representing a split-second moment where machinery, metal, pressure, and timing collided imperfectly, producing a coin unlike any other. And collectors cherish these pieces because they are physical snapshots of minting malfunctions that reveal how surprisingly complex coin production truly is, and among these errors, the Washington Quarter has produced some of the most stunning wrong-planchet strikes ever seen, including quarters struck on dime planchets, nickel planchets, cent planchets, foreign planchets, and even experimental blanks from test runs, each of which defies expectation and often carries incredible value due to rarity and uniqueness. And as we continue peeling back the layers, we enter the realm of special strikes, proofs, SMS coins from 1965 to 1967, cameo and deep cameo, proofs, special die finish experiments, and limited-run commemoratives, all of which enrich the Washington Quarter's story and make it one of the most multi-dimensional series in U.S. history, because no matter how long someone has collected these coins, they eventually discover variations they never knew existed, and that is the true magic of the Washington Quarter, a series that hides constant surprises in plain sight. A series where everyday change can still contain unknown treasures, and a series that continues to reward curiosity, patience, and passion with discoveries that link collectors directly to the mint's past, showing how even the smallest details, tiny shifts in metal, faint doubling, subtle mint mark differences, microscopic engraving choices, can create coins that become legendary in the eyes of the numismatic world, ensuring that the Washington Quarter dollar remains an endless adventure for collectors, historians, and treasure hunters across the world. Continuing deeper into the world of Washington Quarter rarities, Part 2B now focuses on the high-value dates, the jaw-dropping auction results, and the breathtaking coins that transformed ordinary pocket change into historic treasures, beginning with the legendary 1932D and 1932S in high grades, because while millions of collectors have seen these coins in books, almost none have seen a true mint-state example in person, and when one does appear, the market nearly stops, collectors flood auction rooms, and bidding wars erupt instantly, pushing prices upward with every heartbeat, because these coins are not just rare, they are symbols of the Great Depression era, artifacts struck in minimal quantities when the country's economy had collapsed, and because most of them circulated heavily, a pristine survivor becomes a miracle of preservation, which is why a 1932 D-graded MS-66 has sold for incredible amounts at major auction houses, shocking even veteran dealers, and the 1932S has done the same, with top-condition specimens exceeding expectations and proving why these two mint marks dominate every Washington Quarter rarity list. But the surprises do not end there, because mid-1930s dates also hide extraordinary value, especially the 1934 double die obverse, a variety discovered long after the coins had circulated widely, making high-grade pieces far scarcer than the mintage suggests, and collectors continue to search rolls, jars, and estate hoards hoping to find one of these doubled treasures, while the 1936, 1937, and 1939 proofs, especially those with deep cameo contrast, have risen dramatically in value, because early proof Washington Quarters were entirely hand-prepared and struck on specially polished planchets, meaning each one carries subtle artistic characteristics that make them extremely desirable today. And the early 1940s add even more spice to the rarity list, such as the famous 1943 S double die variety, a dramatic doubling that remains one of the standout errors of the era, and the scarce 1942 Type B reverse and 1950s Type B reverse varieties continue to stun collectors with their clean details and proof-like appearance, which often lead inexperienced hobbyists to believe they found a proof coin in circulation, though in reality they discovered an accidental treasure created by the mint's unexpected reuse of proof dies on circulation coinage, a decision that unknowingly created some of the most collectible Washington Quarter varieties of that decade. And as we cross into the silver-to-clad transition era of 1964 to 1965, the values begin to skyrocket for transitional errors, especially the extremely rare 1965 silver quarter struck on leftover 90% silver planchets, a coin that has sold for thousands of dollars because collectors understand its incredible significance as a physical artifact of the moment U.S. coinage changed forever, and the 1964 clad experimental pieces, if authenticated, would be beyond legendary, since they represent prototypes never meant for public release. And even though the Washington Quarter series transitioned fully to clad in 1965, the value potential remained extremely high, especially for the scarce 1966 and 1967 SMS Deep Cameo varieties, coins that show stunning mirrored fields and frosted devices despite not being proof issues. And the market continues elevating these pieces as more collectors appreciate the unique artistic beauty of special mint sets. And as we move into the late 1960s and early 1970s, we encounter wrong-planchet errors that dominate headlines, such as 1970s quarters struck on nickel planchets, dime planchets, and even foreign coin blanks, each one commanding huge premium because they were produced during an era of rapid industrial output when mistakes slipped through unnoticed. And collectors today cherish these anomalies as rare survivors of mechanical chaos. And continuing into the 1980s and 1990s, we find the rise of missing clad layer quarters, broad strikes without retaining collars, multi-struck errors, large die breaks forming massive cuds, and off-center strikes that reveal dramatic portions of the blank planchet, each offering collectors a powerful visual representation of minting imperfections. And during this period, the 1983 P. Washington quarter without a mint set release became unexpectedly valuable because it was heavily circulated and difficult to find in high grades, resulting in astonishing auction results when top condition examples appeared. And similarly, the 1982 quarters show high value potential due to the absence of mint sets that year, making well-preserved survivors extremely desirable. And as the Washington quarter series entered the Statehood and America the Beautiful eras, new waves of errors and varieties emerged, such as double dies, die chips forming dramatic shapes, struck through grease errors, missing letters, and the extremely popular 2004 Wisconsin Extra Leaf High and Extra Leaf Low varieties, which created a modern collecting frenzy as thousands of collectors scavenged rolls searching for the now famous leaf anomalies. And these varieties proved once again that the Washington quarter series, despite its age, continues to deliver major finds, reinforcing its reputation as a series where history, artistry, mechanical science, and pure luck combine to create an endless stream of valuable discoveries. And even today, collectors regularly pull rare quarters from circulation. Because the series remains rich with unexplored territory, from subtle hub variations to dramatic mint errors, ensuring the Washington quarter dollar will forever remain one of the most exciting, unpredictable, and rewarding areas of American numismatics for anyone willing to look closely and search patiently. In this final deep exploration of the Washington quarter dollar's rarest finds, hidden secrets, and high-value discoveries, we now move into the breathtaking world of extreme rarities, specialist-level errors, obscure die varieties, and once-in-a-lifetime discoveries that have shocked collectors, transformed ordinary pocket change into treasure, and cemented the Washington quarter's reputation as one of the most exciting series in all of numismatics, beginning with the astonishing wrong-planchet errors that date back to the silver era, such as Washington quarters struck on 90% silver dime planchets during the 1940s and 1950s, examples that today command enormous premiums because the smaller planchet results in incomplete rim details and significantly off-weight characteristics that expert collectors immediately recognize as highly desirable mint errors. And even more dramatic are the Washington quarters accidentally struck on foreign coin planchets, especially during the 1960s when the Philadelphia Mint produced coins for several countries, resulting in documented cases of Washington quarters struck on planchets intended for coins from countries like the Philippines, Ecuador, and even South American nations, each of which stands among the most valuable mint errors ever discovered for this series, and the breathtaking value of these pieces is amplified by their rarity. Because wrong-planchet errors require extremely specific conditions in the minting process. Something misfed, misaligned, or mistakenly fed into presses at exactly the wrong moment, which means surviving examples represent pure minting accidents frozen in metal. And as we journey into the 1970s and 1980s, we encounter some of the most dramatic broad strike errors ever seen on Washington quarters, with enormous flared-out rims, expanded diameters, and distorted edges, all of which demonstrate how the retaining collar failed during striking, creating visually stunning pieces that collectors cherish for their dramatic appearance and historical importance. And moving deeper into the error universe, we encounter multi-strike Washington quarters, coins struck 2, 3, or even 4 times by minting presses, producing overlapping designs, mirrored images, rotated restrikes, and ghost-like duplicate profiles of George Washington that look like accidental works of art created by industrial machinery operating outside normal parameters. And these multi-strike errors have sold for astonishing amounts at auction because they are both visually spectacular and extremely rare, further highlighting why the Washington quarter is beloved by error specialists. And as we delve into the clad era, we also find some of the most fascinating lamination errors, where peeling outer nickel layers expose the copper core underneath in dramatic streaks, cracks, or missing sections, each one showing how flawed planchets or extreme stress during striking resulted in errors that today sell 4 impressive premiums, and even more shocking are the missing clad layer errors where one entire side of the coin lacks its outer layer, leaving only a red copper surface on one face and a normal clad composition on the other, creating a two-tone piece that instantly commands attention from collectors and often sells for hundreds or thousands depending on the date and condition. And as we continue exploring high-value modern rarities, we reach the world-famous 1976 bicentennial quarters, some of which contain double dies, die breaks, or missing clad layer errors that have become extremely collectible due to the coin's historical significance, massive national nostalgia, and its role as one of the most popular designs ever placed into circulation. And among these bicentennial issues, the struck-through grease errors, where missing details such as thin drum lines, missing designer initials, or faint lettering appear, have become favorites among variety hunters who appreciate the subtlety and uniqueness of such strikes. And as we move into the 1990s and early 2000s, the emergence of statehood quarters revolutionized the hobby, creating unprecedented opportunities for new and unusual errors, including double dies, large die chips such as the famous spitting horse on the 2005 Kansas quarter, dramatic cut breaks that erase large portions of the state design, off-center strikes that show a portion of the blank planchet, and even improperly annealed planchet errors that give the quarter a darker or coppery tone. And all of these features help elevate these modern quarters into legitimate collectibles with surprising auction potential, proving that the Washington Quarter Series continues producing treasures even in the modern era. And as the America the Beautiful and American Women Quarter programs began, even more impressive minting anomalies emerged, including retained interior die breaks, ghost-like doubled inscriptions, misaligned dies creating partial missing rims, and extremely valuable experimental finish errors from special sets, solidifying the Washington Quarter's place as one of the most diverse, complex, and rewarding coin series ever minted. And throughout these decades, collectors continue to discover overlooked varieties hiding in plain sight inside old coin jars, bankrolls, cash drawers, and inherited coin boxes, making the Washington Quarter a true goldmine for patient and observant hobbyists who understand that value does not only come from mintages or age but also from the unpredictable magic of the minting process itself. And because this series spans nearly a century of American history, every phase, from silver alloy to clad, from eagle reverse to statehood and beyond, carries its own treasure class rarities, each offering collectors a chance to own a genuine piece of minting history that tells a story far greater than its 25-cent face value. As we continue deeper into the world of elite Washington Quarter rarities, the landscape becomes even more extraordinary, revealing a hidden universe of coins that escape the mint with dramatic mechanical flaws, chemistry anomalies, striking accidents, and production irregularities so unusual that they transform an everyday quarter into a once-in-a-generation collectible. And among the most astonishing of these are the transitional errors, coins struck using the wrong metal composition due to the mint-switching alloys in different years, such as the famous 1965 silver Washington quarters, produced when leftover 90% silver planchets accidentally entered the presses during the transition to clad coinage, resulting in pieces that today command massive premiums because they represent an unexpected continuation of a metal era that should have ended permanently the previous year. And experts identify these treasures by weight, sound, edge coloration, and in some cases metallurgical analysis, making them highly sought after by professional graders and collectors who understand their historical and monetary importance. And just as breathtaking are the extremely rare 1977 clad quarters struck on silver planchets, evidence that older blank discs remained in storage bins for more than a decade before being mistakenly fed into production lines, creating an error so improbable that every surviving example feels like an impossibility. And the rarity only grows when we examine the niche world of die variety collecting, where subtle details such as doubled letters, repunched mint marks, misaligned date placements, or faint ghost doubling on Washington's profile reveal secrets that ordinary collectors might overlook. Yet specialists recognize instantly as key indicators of production anomalies unique to specific years, dies, and mint facilities. And within this realm, the 1934 double die, the 1943 doubled motto, and the 1956 inverted mint mark varieties stand among the most admired early-era Washington Quarter anomalies, each one representing a moment where the mint's die replication techniques produced tiny imperfections that today translate to tremendous collectible value. And moving ahead to modern times, the Statehood Quarter program becomes a treasure map overflowing with iconic errors, including the legendary Wisconsin Extra Leaf High and Extra Leaf Low varieties from 2004, pieces created when a mysterious additional leaf shape appeared beside the corn stalk on the reverse, sparking nationwide excitement and turning this modern quarter into a high-value rarity overnight. And error hunters spent years searching rolls and bags, hoping to uncover one of these precious pieces, making it one of the most thrilling modern discoveries in the entire Washington Quarter lineage, and alongside this are dozens of dramatic statehood errors featuring missing cladding, rotated dies, off-center strikes, large interior die breaks forming cuds on the rim, and even double-thickness planchet errors that cause the coin to appear swollen or unusually heavy, each one telling a story of the mint's enormous production scale and the mechanical vulnerability that sometimes produces spectacular mistakes. And as we progress into the America the Beautiful series, we encounter additional anomalies such as deep die clashes where outlines of Washington's portrait appear on the reverse fields, feeder finger scrapes leaving long lines across the surface, double struck edge lettering on special issue quarters, and shocking grease-filled die errors causing entire sections of a national park design to fade out or vanish entirely, turning a common coin into a rare curiosity instantly recognized by experienced collectors. And these modern errors prove beyond doubt that even in the era of high-precision minting, mistakes still occur, and sometimes those mistakes become some of the most desirable modern rarities in the entire hobby, and the fascination of the Washington Quarter continues as we explore values driven not only by errors, mint marks, and metal varieties but by the condition of the coin itself, because high-grade specimens, especially mid-century issues, are far rarer than most collectors realize due to the heavy circulation these coins endured for decades. Meaning that certain dates in superb gem condition can sell for surprising amounts even without dramatic errors, and collectors pursuing top-tier pieces understand that mirror-like luster, razor-sharp strike quality, flawless fields, and pristine surfaces are qualities that dramatically elevate the value of key dates, especially those minted in lower quantities or during years when planchet quality varied significantly, and it is this blend of history, design evolution, metal transitions, error diversity, scarcity, and collector passion that transforms the Washington Quarter from a simple 25-cent coin into a vast treasure universe where almost every decade hides something extraordinary, and every collector, from beginner to professional, can find something to pursue, study, or dream of discovering in circulation or in old family boxes. And as we close this entire long journey through the Washington Quarter's rarest treasures, most valuable errors, powerful historical depth, and once-in-a-lifetime discoveries, it becomes clear that this coin, minted for nearly a century, remains one of the most thrilling and opportunity-filled series ever released by the United States Mint, and whether it is a forgotten early silver rarity, a transitional metal anomaly, a dramatic statehood mint error, or a flawless modern gem, the Washington Quarter continues to inspire excitement, curiosity, and the thrill of possibility for collectors everywhere, making it a timeless piece of numismatic history and a treasure hunt that never truly ends. Because every time someone checks their pocket change, opens an old box, or searches a roll from the bank, there is always the chance, however small, that the next legendary discovery may be waiting quietly inside, ready to change a collector's life forever, and that is why the Washington Quarter dollar will always remain one of the most beloved, studied, and hunted coins in the world, offering endless stories, endless mysteries, and endless opportunities for those with the passion to look closely and the patience to keep searching. And with that, we conclude our deep exploration of this iconic American coin, a journey filled with history, rarity, beauty, and unexpected treasure hiding in plain sight. Thanks for watching.